Hello? Good morning? Hi. I'm not sure what happened. I was streaming for a minute and then all of a sudden I wasn't. And I'm guessing that was probably my fault. So hold on. Excuse me for one moment while I do something real quick. We're going to get back into the Disney bullshit. Sorry. Sorry about that. Very sorry. Where did it go? Let me do something real quick. I will delete that forever. Goodbye. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. I have no idea what the hell just happened. I'm very, very sorry about that. I imagine it was me. I imagine I clicked something because I'm an idiot boomer. But anyway, let's get back into it. Okay. So again, Wednesday, Disney had its shareholder meeting, had its shareholder vote, and Bob Iger won. Bob Iger and the board won. So let's just jump into it. Disney's Bob Iger triumphs over Nelson Peltz in bitter shareholder vote, but big challenges remain. Walt Disney Co. on Wednesday fought off a bruising challenge from billionaire investor Nelson Peltz as shareholders delivered their overwhelming support for chief executive Bob Iger and the company's nominated board members, ending a costly campaign against the Burbank entertainment giant's leadership and strategy. In Disney's most consequential board election in 20 years, and one of corporate America's most closely watched proxy contests in recent memory, Peltz fell short in his long-shot bid to wrangle a seat on the board. Preliminary results showed that Peltz mustered about 31% of the vote, according to a person close to the election but not authorized to comment. And I did believe that on Wednesday morning show, I said I did believe that Bob Iger was going to win. Overcoming Bob Iger, who is very well entrenched in Disney and has been for some time, and all of his connections with BlackRock and Vanguard and all of the big shareholders and George Lucas throwing support behind it, overcoming all of that was going to be a tall task, was going to be very difficult. And I think most people thought that, and yeah, that was the case. In contrast, Iger received a resounding 94% of shareholder support, a decisive victory that reinforces his popularity among large institutional investors, yes, as well as small shareholders who are nostalgic for the company, its characters and theme parks. 3/4 of retail shareholders, as opposed to larger institutional investors such as mutual funds, voted in support of Disney's slate of 12 nominees, including Iger for the board. Peltz's ally, former Disney executive Jay Rasulo, was also snubbed by shareholders, along with 3 candidates offered by the smaller activist investor Blackwell's Capital. Vote totals were preliminary. Final results must be certified and filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So, basically, people think about like what George Lucas did. People did not want to rock the boat. People were unsure. They're low, and I think Gary from Nerdrotic has kind of coined this, low information shareholders, right? These are people who really don't know what they're voting for. They don't know. They just see Disney as the stock. They just see Disney as Disney, right? They're very much from the outside looking in. All the information they get comes very surface level. It comes from the LA Times, or it comes from CNN, or it comes from MSNBC. It comes from Twitter, right? And they don't get into Twitter like weirdos like you and I do. They don't do that, right? They just go on Twitter and they browse a little bit and then they turn it off. And everything they know about Disney is what they see in the movie theaters, or what they see on television commercials, or just advertisements that they see scrolling through YouTube. They are very surface level, and they will just take information from the mainstream media. Okay? They don't dive into it like you and I do. So they think that they're just voting for traditional Disney. And Disney really sold people on that. So it's not surprising. It's not surprising. It's, again, low information shareholders, kind of like low information voters. I firmly believe the voting age in the United States of America should be raised to the age of 30, and that you should be required to pass a civics test before you can vote, but I digress. Despite prevailing in the proxy contest, Disney must reckon with colossal Business challenges, yes, and simmering discontent in corners of its shareholder base. This year's proxy challenge revealed divisions not seen since the end of the Michael Eisner era. If Peltz had succeeded, it would have been a stunning rebuke of the Disney board and Iger, who returned to the company in late 2022 to reverse its flagging fortunes. Peltz could have used his perch on the board to influence the company's streaming strategy and executive compensation plans. Even with Peltz vanquished, Iger and his management team remain under pressure to accelerate the company's turnaround plans, including efforts to make its streaming business profitable, because it's not. Disney needs to find ways to preserve the power of its ESPN sports empire and other TV channels while also reinvigorating its movie pipeline and expanding its theme parks and resorts businesses. And board members have been tasked to quickly find a capable successor for Iger, a duty that has eluded the company for years. Disney's dominant showing sent a strong message, analysts said. There's really only one way to read this. It's a clear mandate for Iger. Sure, it's a sign that people don't know what they're voting for, and it's a sign that people don't want to rock the boat, right? People, even when, look, here's the stock, okay? Here's Disney stock before the beginning of the meeting. This is April 3rd, 1:10 p.m., okay? This is just before the call. This is just before the shareholders' call. Stock was trading at 121.96, okay? Right after the call, it immediately goes down. Here we go. April 3rd, 220. An hour later, down to 119.72, okay? It kind of tries to recover a little bit and then goes, oh, no. April 3rd, another hour later, 118.71. And then, it kind of, yesterday tried to recover a little bit. I don't know. No, it went back down. Oh boy. It went down all the way to 117.38, and it ended yesterday at 116.88. So it went down from 122. It went from about 121. It went from about 122. It went from 122 all the way down to 116.87, little under 117. So the stock market wasn't happy. And the CEO's job, a CEO's job of any company whatsoever, is to do what is right for the shareholders. You have a fiduciary duty to do everything in your power, that's legal, of course, everything in your power to make the most money possible for your shareholders. And Bob Iger's not doing that. Let's see. Managing law partner, something in Beverly Hills finance practice. He's going to cement his legacy upon his departure, including picking his successor. Iger thanks shareholders for their support during Disney's annual meeting, which was held virtually. We'll get into this, yeah. Now that this distracting proxy contest is behind us, we are eager to focus 100% of our attention on our most important priorities, Iger said, adding that Disney would concentrate on value creation for our shareholders and creative excellence for our consumers. That sounds like it's in complete contrast with everything that you've talked about in the past, Bob. Because before you've talked about, how you guys have to be responsible and how it's your duty to, we have to be. This is a fight of good and evil, and we have to. We're not trying to be political. We're just trying to do the right thing. We have to do the right thing. You have said that you are going to inject yourself into the culture war. Bob, you've said that. You have said that it is important. You want this DEI stuff it's important to you, and you want it to be in the Disney product. Okay? And everything that we know about DEI now, everything about it is completely antithetical to the creative process. People come to Disney for creativity and entertainment. And everything we know about DEI is completely antithetical to that. DEI requires you to operate in this neat little box of walking on eggshells and not offending anyone and constantly thinking about how delicate you have to be about everyone else's sensibilities. And that hamstrings creativity. You cannot be creative in that system. You can be creative up to a point of, oh no, I better not offend anyone, or I need to have a sensitivity reading. I need to have Sweet Baby Inc. come in here and do a sensitivity reading. I've got to have the black person read it, and the woman, and the non-binary, and the trans person, and I've got to have the Middle Eastern Palestinian trans non-binary midget person do it, and or whatever the fuck. And if it offends them, well, we can't make it. Creativity has to be offensive. And people come to Disney for creativity in their entertainment. The magic, right? The magic of Disney. And you haven't been doing that. So people have not been going to your movies. People have not been going to your parks. People have not been subscribing to your streaming service. So your profits have gone down. Your shares have gone down. Your value has gone down. Your shareholders have lost money. You have not done your job. And low information shareholders who just buy your bullshit, they voted for. Hey, you guys want to throw your money away? Be my guest. It ain't my money. Go for it. I'm sure CalPERS, the largest pension service in California, who actually voted for Peltz, they're probably kvetching right now. Maybe they'll sell. You should probably sell Disney stock. I'm not a financial advisor, by the way. This is not financial advice. Oh, let's see. Peltz, founder of the CEO of the New York-based Trian Fund Management, Trian, conceded the result. While we are disappointed with the outcome of this proxy contest, Trian greatly appreciates all of the support and dialogue we have had with Disney stakeholders. Peltz's firm said in a statement Wednesday, "We are proud of the impact we've had in refocusing this company on value creation and good governance." Although Peltz had previously waged successful activist campaigns in other companies, including Heinz, Procter & Gamble, and DuPont, he appeared outgunned and outmaneuvered by Disney, analysts said. The Disney company is probably one of the toughest targets you'd want to take on. Oh, let's see. I wanted to see. Let's go down here. The proxy campaign had honed in on Disney's subpar stock performance over the last 5 years, uneven box office results, and the company's bungled succession efforts, but it wasn't enough. Iger was able to demonstrate and articulate to shareholders that he has a plan for being fiscally responsible while also investing in future growth, Martin said. I don't think Peltz was able to articulate anything close to what the future necessarily holds beyond just cost cutting. Well, considering they're spending like $300 million a movie for movies that are losing hundreds of millions of dollars, again, I think it's all money laundering, but whatever. Let's see. Let's get into a little more of this because this thing really goes. I'm trying to see if there's a... really what I want to get into. It was a really weird shareholder meeting, right? So they won. Bob Iger and Disney won. And then Bob Iger... I'm trying to think what I want to jump into here first because a couple of different weird things happened. So, okay, let's do this first. Bob Iger did this really weird thing where he's supposed to take questions from shareholders, from actual shareholders, right? And they're just supposed to be questions. Then, of course, they've been pre-screened and everything. They usually pre-screen them. They usually give them an opportunity to kind of prepare a little bit. But this was just a complete nightmare because he took questions from an AI, some kind of bot. The Walt Disney Company appears to only answer pre-screened AI-read questions during annual shareholder Q&A. Let's see. The Walt Disney Company drastically changed how they took questions from shareholders during the company's annual shareholder meeting on April 3rd. During the company's... Oh, this does not look good on the screen. God bless it. Let me see if I can get my fat head out of the way. How's that? Is that better? Not really. Oh, I'm really out of the way. God damn it. This looks awful. Looks awful. Let's do that for now. How's that? That'll work for now. During the company's live stream of the event, what appeared to be an AI voiceover explained the change. In the answer and question portion of the meeting, your questions were submitted prior to the meeting and today in the virtual meeting platform. Excuse me. This AI voiceover then read a series of questions to which Bob Iger answered them. It's unclear if these questions were even submitted by shareholders or crafted by Disney's press relations teams. Yes, it's very odd. It's also unclear if Disney CEO Bob Iger, who answered the various questions, actually answered them live or had already pre-recorded the answers. Iger was not shown on camera answering the questions. What a fucking coward. The company previously had shareholders call in and identified them by name as well as where they were calling in from. The shareholders then asked their questions live to Bob Iger, to which he answered them live. In 2023, the shareholder Q&A portion of the meeting also took over 30 minutes, or nearly half of the entire meeting. This year, Iger spent around 10 minutes on the shareholder question and answer portion of the meeting. Similarly, in 2022, the Q&A portion took around 30 minutes of an hour-and-a-half meeting. It also had shareholders call in and identified them by name and the location from where they were calling in from. Pop culture analyst WDW Pro reacted to this new way of answering shareholder questions during an appearance on Valiant Renegade's live stream covering the shareholder meeting, saying, "Joe Biden has more courage in front of the press than Bob Iger." It's true. This man took pre-recorded AI questions from an AI moderator that he already knew and had the answers printed out in front of him. This is a shame upon the company. It's humiliating to the company. I don't care what the headlines say, he continued. Switching from having the testicular fortitude to take call-ins from shareholders to this is absolute utter nonsense. This man has no clothes. He is not to be trusted, and everything that's happened with Nelson Peltz and everything leading up to right now. We have now entered a clown world circus show. This is ridiculous, and it is not adult-like. This is childish behavior, utterly stupid. For shareholders, I'm just incensed. You do not have a voice with this company. 100% correct. 100%. Let me read this real quick. He later added, "What was just done to Nelson Peltz and the other shareholders is an abomination. I don't speak this way normally. I don't know how long shareholders have had the opportunity to call in and speak to Bob Iger or to any CEO. But the idea that you were going to switch to that artificial intelligence moderated by an AI voice and that you're going to pretend that's on a timer and the CEO has all of the questions in front of him. He already knows. It's probably prepared. That is utter nonsense. That is total nonsense." And maybe that's why the stock went down. You think about it this way, right? Think about it this way. You have $1 million or billions in dollars invested in this company, right? Think about if you are the California pension system, CalPERS, the largest pension system in the state of California, and you are extremely concerned with your shares, with the prices, and you are legitimately considering selling off your shares, and you call into this meeting, and you want to ask a question of Bob Iger, right? This is Disney. This is a massive multinational corporation. He is a CEO. And you call in and you're expecting to be able to answer a question or ask a question and have it answered. You're one of the biggest shareholders. And they just brush you aside, and just for a few minutes, they take pre-screened AI questions. You don't even see Bob Iger. You don't know if he's even answering the question. This could all be AI. They treat you like children. You have no access to them whatsoever. This is the meeting where shareholders are supposed to have access, and they completely deny you that access. They act like children, right? What's up, Florence? Good morning. Sorry, this is just a random stream. I just decided to jump on. Yeah, audio is working now. I did check on that. Thank you. But you have billions of dollars invested in this company, and they won't even talk to you. Now, CalPERS, BlackRock, Vanguard, they have inroads, right? They have direct inroads straight to the boardroom, I'm sure, straight to Bob Iger's phone. So I'm sure they're not too stressed about it. I mean, I'm sure the people of CalPERS, right? The people who are represented by the California pension system, they're concerned about it. The people at the top, they're not. They're not. Hell, my 9 to 5 job, the company that I work for, the 9 to 5, I won't go into that, but they have, I think, 2%. I think they're a 2% shareholder in Disney for their mutuals, for the mutual funds. This is not good. This is not good for the shareholders. It's just not. There it is, right there. 122 all the way down to 116 in a couple of days. Now, is that a complete crash? No, it's not an absolute crash, but it's not good. The shareholder meeting is designed to instill you with confidence about the future, and they didn't do that. So a couple of things happened that probably wouldn't instill too much hope and make you feel real good about that shareholders meeting. A few things that happened. So one, well, let's jump into this. If you know who Chloe Cole is, Chloe Cole was a little girl who actually, at the age of, I can't remember if at the age of 12 or 13, a girl, or maybe, I can't remember if it was younger maybe, was transitioned into a boy and got a double mastectomy and hormone treatment and everything, and has now become a detransitioner who goes on speaking tours and is trying to tell people of the dangers of, what some of the transgenderism can do, that you need to know full well what's going on before you get into it. There needs to be informed consent. And she, anyway, I won't go down that road. I won't go down that road too much. But Chloe Cole is a detransitioner who speaks about detransitioning and the dangers that can occur when going into this whole mindset and all the operations and everything, blah, blah, blah. I guess I can't talk too much about it on YouTube. But she was the very first voice heard on the shareholder call, and all of the Disney shareholders heard this. This was on the live streams. This was everywhere. Everyone heard this. So let's take a look. Let's listen to what she had to say to Bob Iger and the Disney board.
Good morning. I am Chloe Cole, patient advocate for Do No Harm, a group that seeks accountability in the medical profession. I am presenting proposal number 7 titled Report on Gender Transitioning Compensation and Benefits, sponsored by National Legal and Policy Center. Disney pays for gender transition interventions, but not detransitioning care. Therefore, the company discriminates based on gender identity under EEOC regulations. I speak from personal experience as someone who was deceived and physically harmed at a young age by gender ideology, validated by the medical industry and pushed to the masses by corporations like Disney. Influenced by modern media and social networks, I began a transition to male at age 12. By age 16, after practitioners I trusted encouraged me to take puberty blockers and get a double mastectomy, I tried to come back to reality, but it was too late. My body has been irreversibly damaged, and years later, my chest is still in bandages. My doctors have abandoned me. You doctors look and shrug. As a result, I am suing those professionals who steered me into taking these destructive steps that have permanently scarred me. But Disney, in its arrogance, has responded to our proposal by stating that I am only trying to generate attention for a limited agenda. Mr. Iger, Disney, under your watch, is pushing the limited agenda of gender ideology. Disney has become the Ursula that is stealing the voices of thousands of little Ariels across the world by telling us that we can be something that we can never become. The lawsuits are coming, sir. It's only a matter of time before current or past employees whose bodies and lives have been irreversibly harmed will show up at your door looking for justice and restitution. Please vote for proposal number 7.
So that was Chloe Cole. That was the very first call, or the very first voice that you heard on the Disney shareholders call. All the shareholders heard that. Everybody heard that. And Bob Iger did not even broach the subject. He did not mention it. He didn't talk about it. Nothing whatsoever. They completely breezed right over it. Didn't talk about it. So if you caught that, Disney will pay. Disney has a program where they will pay for children to transition into the opposite sex, the opposite gender. Okay? Now, I don't believe that Chloe Cole said that I don't think she directly said that she was a participant in specifically the Disney program. But she just mentioned that at a young age, at the age of 12, she began transitioning. She's just pointing out the fact that Disney does, in fact, have this program. And Bob Iger has claimed that they're going to move on from supposedly all of the woke messaging and everything, but he didn't even talk about it. He didn't even mention it. I would imagine that if you were going to go away from things like this, you'd at least say, yeah, and we'll acknowledge that. And they didn't even, no. Think about how fucked up we've got to be. We've got a company that made its bones on children's animation, family-friendly content that is now paying to have 12-year-old girls take hormones and cut off their breasts and become boys. And they'll do the opposite, boys to girls. But they won't pay for the detransitioning. And she's got a point. Isn't that some kind of discrimination? Goes one way but not the other. How did we get here? How did this happen? So not only that, but where'd it go? So yeah, and then Bob Iger. Oh, here we go. So Marvel's Fantastic Four cast. This was after the shareholders meeting. They talked about this after the shareholders meeting. They didn't want to mention this before the shareholders meeting, right? Because they're supposedly going against this whole agenda and messaging. But then right after the meeting, they announced this. Marvel's Fantastic Four cast Inventing Anna star Julia Garner as female version of Silver Surfer. Okay. I will echo what a few people have already said about this. So this is Julia Garner. She plays Rose in Ozark. Now, Ozark's a good show. And she is fantastic in it. She's wonderful in it. She's very, very good. I didn't like the last season as much as the first few seasons, but it was still a good show. And the thing is, again, we don't care if your lead is a female. We don't care. But we know what this means, Disney. We have all the evidence in the world to understand what this means. We know that it's just going to be woke. We know that. Why do this? Why? People just want entertainment. They just want entertainment. In a move so stereotypical that it borders on parody, Marvel Studios has announced that rather than in the Norrin Rad version of the beloved cosmic hero, their upcoming Fantastic Four film will instead present audiences with the female Shalla-Bal incarnation of the Silver Surfer. Confirmation of Marvel's latest casting move first made public on April 3rd when, in an exclusive for the outlet, Deadline's Justin Kroll reported that according to his sources, Ozark and Inventing Anna star Julia Garner had been cast to play the iconic Herald of Galactus. To this end, Kroll also noted that rather than an outright race-swapped version of the aforementioned Rad, Garner would instead be portraying the wholly separate character Shalla-Bal. So, again, I'm not a comic book nerd or anything like that. It's my understanding. Oh, here we go. They'll get right into it. A fellow native of Rad's home planet of Zenn-La, Bal is first introduced in the debut issue of 1968's Silver Surfer Volume 1, therein being depicted as the love of the eventual cosmic entity's life. Sadly for the couple, the coming of Galactus and Rad's agreement to serve as his herald in exchange for the sparing of Zenn-La would eventually see the couple forcefully ripped from each other's arms, and as a result, Bal would be left to stay on their home planet while her lover set out to perform his heartbreaking duties. From there, Ball would spend the next roughly 50 years as a supporting character to the Surfer's adventures, her appearances taking on one of two distinct forms. Either a temporary reunion with Rad, after which they would be forced to accept their fates once again, or an illusion employed by one of the hero's enemies with the intent of breaking his mind. That was until 2016's Silver Surfer Volume 8. Therein, writer Dan Slott promote Ball from Rad's love interest to Zenla's Keeper of the Great Truth, a role which saw her not only turn into a villainous cultural expansionist intent on overriding the universe's various cultures with that of her own home planets, but also come to blows with the heroic former lover who sought to stop her twisted machinations. Oh my God! I didn't know it was this bad. Eventually, their conflict would come to a head when Rad, in a moment of desperation, used his cosmic power to erase Zenla's culture from existence, thus crippling Ball's entire campaign. Okay, so here's what they're doing. The Silver Surfer's been around since, what did it say, 1960 what? 1968. Has been around since 1968, and for 50 years, right? That was the Silver Surfer that people knew and loved. That was the Silver Surfer that sold countless comics and that, with the Fantastic Four and everything. This was one of the most popular comic book characters ever. Ever. And this is the one that people want, right? When people, the reason that Iron Man was so popular is because it was like the original Iron Man. People said, all of the original Iron Man comic book fans, right? They said, oh my God, they actually did Iron Man right. That looks good. He's acting like Iron Man. That's great. All of the original fans of the Silver Surfer, that's what they want. They want the original. But of course, they completely disregard that one and they pick the more modern version, the 2016 version. And let me read this again. Let me read this again. Therein, writer Dan Slott promote Ball from Rad's love interest to Zenla's Keeper of the Great Truth, a role which saw her not only turn into a villainish cultural expansionist. Okay, all of these modern writers, for whatever reason, they all want to identify with the villain. They all want us to forget about the idea of good versus evil. They even say it in the new Acolyte trailer. We've been over that. They don't. There's a part of them that doesn't seem to understand the concept of good versus evil, right? And they always identify with the villain for some reason, because it's this whole idea that they have to identify with the people who are against the colonizers. They see all good. They see all the heroes as colonizers for some reason. You ever notice that? So they want to identify with the villains because they think that those are the people who are rising up as revolutionaries. And it even says it right here. Intends on overriding the universe's various cultures with that of her own home planet. So it sounds very progressive liberal. It sounds like they want to overwrite everyone else's culture and traditions with their own bullshit. Like, you couldn't write it any better than that. That sounds like they wrote it. But also come to blows with her heroic former lover. Right. So it has everything they want. It's a female. She was seen as the villain. Beginning in 2016, she was seen as the villain. So they can identify with the woman. Then they can identify with the villain. She is overriding everyone else's cultures, so they can use that to their advantage. They can say, well, she's fighting against the patriarchy. She's fighting against sexism. She's fighting against bigotry. She's fighting against racism, which is the prevalent culture in the universe. So they can fight against that. Come to blows with her heroic former lover. She don't need no man. She's going to be gay. I don't know. They'll make up some character. Maybe she'll be gay with Captain Marvel. Wouldn't that be something? I mean, I didn't know it was like this, man. Holy shit. I did not know it was like this. It's seriously like they wrote it. Wow. No wonder they picked this. No wonder they did this. Oh my God. This is going to, oh no. It's a perfect fit. The new one, the modern version. Ugh. And of course, again, they announced this after the shareholders meeting. Let's see. Eventually, their conflict would come to a head when Rad, in a moment of desperation, used his power cosmic to erase Zenla's culture from existence, thus crippling Baal's entire campaign. Unwilling to accept this final solution, Unwilling to accept this humiliation lying down, Ball in turn stripped Rod of his Zen Law citizenship, thus leaving both of them without a true home to ever return to. Notably, at no point in her does the core Earth 616 version of Ball ever serve as the Silver Surfer herself. Right, they'll change that. They don't care about that. They only want the bits and pieces that fit their narrative. Rather, the only time a version of Ball has been seen in the role was in the final 2 issues of the 97 Earth 10 Volume 1 miniseries, wherein she is temporarily granted the powers of the Silver Surfer and made his twin Herald before being killed a short time later by an invading force of Celestials. All in all, Ball's total page time as a version of the Silver Surfer amounts to roughly 4 pages across 2 issues. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So there's all that. Great. Wonderful. And then Bob Iger goes on to say, get out of here. What is this crap? This is on Vanity Fair. Bob Iger goes on, says, thinks woke Disney critics don't even know what woke means. Well, let's see. Can you tell us what it means, Bob? Let's find out. In an interview at Disney HQ, the CEO addressed Elon Musk's repeated complaints about Disney going woke, but also said that his company cares more about entertainment than making content with the message. And this will be the last article we talk about with Disney this morning. Bob Iger has a message for those criticizing Disney for being too woke. The Disney CEO sat for an interview at Disney HQ on Thursday and directly addressed high-profile critics, including Elon Musk and Nelson Peltz, about the direction in which he's steering the entertainment behemoth. In the interview with CNBC reporter David Faber, I'm sure he gave him some real fastball questions. Iger maintained that Disney is not primarily concerned with infusing messaging into its programming and that it remains an entertainment-first company. Okay. Musk has taken it upon himself to wage a war against Iger's vision of Disney. I think everyone has, considering no one's going to the theater anymore. The ex-CEO has repeatedly called out Iger and Disney for being too woke, posting on April Fool's Day that he was joining the company as its chief DEI officer. And I have said, first of all, get rid of the DEI department altogether, but I said that it would have been a wonderful, wonderful thing. Shares, I think, would have gone up, I don't know, a bunch, but they would have gone up if not only Nelson Peltz, but if he was able to get another board seat and put Elon Musk on that board, it would have injected so much energy into Disney. Their stock would have gone up probably by, I don't know, probably by as much as it dropped, probably like 3 or 4% at least. This is not financial advice. Oh, let's see. Can't wait to work with Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy to make their content more woke, the mogul wrote. Even the linguini. This apparently was Musk's attempt at a funny joke. They just hate Elon Musk so much. Iger certainly wasn't laughing. I ignore it, Iger told Faber, of Musk's pestering. There's no relevance to the Walt Disney Company or to me. While he's not concerned with Musk's comedic stylings, Iger did indirectly address Musk's notions that Disney has been going woke, promising that the company's focus is on entertainment rather than moralizing. Infusing messaging as the sort of number one priority in our films and TV shows is not what we're up to. They need to be entertaining, said Iger. Well, they're not, Bob. Why do you think people aren't watching? Why aren't people signing up for the streaming service? Why are you getting so many lawsuits brought against you? While he's not concerned with Musk's comedic stylings, infusing messaging as the sort of number one priority in our films and TV shows is not what we're up to. They need to be entertaining. And look, where the Disney company can have a positive impact on the world, whether it's fostering acceptance and understanding of people of all different types, great. But generally speaking, we need to be an entertainment-first company, and I've worked really hard to do that. Oh, geez. Let me see if I can find something real quick. That's not what I wanted. Let me see if I can find real quick. If I don't find it right away, I won't stay on it. But Bob Iger's comments about he had a secretly recorded phone call And I won't stick on it. I won't. Too much because I don't want to waste your time. We'll have to move on to some things. But anyway, he had a phone call. Where he was talking about injecting their politics and everything. So I won't stay on it then. Screw it. But Bob Iger has said repeatedly, multiple times, that he feels it's Disney's responsibility. And he even kind of said it there. And look, where the Disney company can have a positive impact on the world, whether it's fostering acceptance and understanding of people of all different types, great. He's kind of trying to steer away from that language, but that's the only kind of language he's used within the past few years, right? He thinks it is Disney's role to have an impact on it. What did Larry Fink said? That they want to control behaviors, steer behaviors, and BlackRock owns so many Disney shares. You know they've had conversations. You know they've had conversations in that Disney boardroom about steering behaviors. You're going to have to, the thing is, Bob, you're going to have to prove it. People aren't just going to take you at your word. You're going to have to prove it. So we'll see what happens with Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer. We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll just have to, I don't know. I don't think people are going to give you a whole lot of second chances, Bob. But that's just me. Anyway, your stock went down. Enjoy that. Okay. So there it was. Bob Iger and the board remaining pat. Don't expect too much to change. I don't know why it would. We have no reason to believe that it's going to change. Do you? I don't. All right, let's move on. I can go for maybe like another half hour. So, staying with the entertainment industry, Stellar Blade. So, Stellar Blade is a game that is coming out, and when does that come out? That should be any day now. Let's see. April 26th. Okay. So Stellar Blade's going to come out April 26th. And it looks like people are enjoying it pretty well. So here on Twitter, played the Stellar Blade demo. Gives me a Nier Automata vibes in a good way. The music is so good. Combat is fun. Excited for the release. Let's see. Thank God this game is like Final Fantasy 16, where you don't have to be amazing in action games to actually feel like you're good at the game combat. Here's the demo. Fair enough. Parry and dodge system is actually good. So people are actually talking about the gameplay, and I've seen a lot of that. And I've watched a few videos on YouTube of people playing, and people seem to genuinely enjoy the gameplay. And it looks pretty good, too. Not just Eve herself, but the graphics look, the animations look good. It just looks good. So it looks like people are actually enjoying it. And there's some other good things to like about it. So Stellar Blade director rejects microtransactions. That's the right thing to do. Promises game will not require players to spend any additional money beyond what they paid for the package. So that's good. So that's a developer understanding. This guy appears to understand gamers, right? Focus on the gameplay. Make it look good. Gamers, who are the vast majority male, want to see sexy women, and they want to see attractive men too, right? That's part of entertainment. That's part of the escapism. We want something kind of more of like an ideal version of ourselves, superheroes. I mean, when women see like Chris Hemsworth take his shirt off and strut around, it's like, does it bother you? It doesn't bother me. Go for it. That's what superheroes are for. That's what action stars are for. That's what video games are for. That's what we want to see. And the Stellar Blade director, he has said that before too. He has said that, yeah, I just wanted to see an attractive woman. Based. Not only that, but no microtransactions. Just make a game, a good, complete game. That's all we ask for. You're trying to do far too much. You're trying to do everything for the bankers. You're doing everything for the Alyssa Mercantes and the Kotakus. These people don't buy your game. Men, just dudes, buy your game. Average dudes, that's your base. I don't know why you don't understand that. This guy seems to understand it, though. But there's been a hullabaloo around Stellar Blade because all of these wokies are losing their minds and everything because you can't have attractive women anymore because they're all jealous of attractive women because they're not attractive themselves. And they don't want the male gaze, even though they'll go do sex work because sex work is real work, according to them. It's empowering, but we can't have the male gaze. If you can make sense of that, let me know. I can't. But anyway, and Kabrutus, who's been killing it, he's the guy who made the Sweet Baby Inc. What is it? The page on Steam where the tracker, where they're compiling a list of all the different Sweet Baby Inc. games. And I think they're making some other lists now, too, for some of the other narrative companies. But Kabrutus went on and said, Kabrutus made an appeal to fans and roasted Sweet Baby Inc. in a short YouTube video linked to his post on X. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I've seen all the butt-hurtery coming from those gaming outlets towards Stellar Blade, so I decided to share a message. We all know that they are the ones who hate women and femininity, not us. And it is true. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong with appreciating the feminine form. People have been doing it for all of humanity. You look at like the great statues, the great marble statues and paintings and everything. It's a celebration, like the Venus de Milo, and all of these things are a celebration of the female form. The female form is one of the most beautiful things on planet Earth. It genuinely, it is. I really believe that. And there's nothing wrong with appreciating it. There's nothing wrong with finding it attractive and sexy. It's part of how we continue the species. And these freaks, a lot of them are just jealous. You know. And it's just, and so rather than improve themselves, rather than try to get better, they would rather tear all of us down to their level. So that's why we got to talk about these things, because we have to remind each other that there's more of us than there are of them, right? Sometimes it can get very easy to feel like there's no hope, feel like you're all alone, feel like you're on an island, feel like sometimes you're going crazy, or the rest of the world's going crazy, and you've got no one to talk to, nowhere to turn and everything. One important thing about us talking about this and having conversations and, just chatting about it and keeping the conversation alive is that we remind ourselves that, yeah, we're not alone, okay? There's actually a lot more sane people out there than we think. It's just the insane people, the psychos, scream a lot louder and a lot more often because that's all they do with their lives. So it's important that we talk, that we speak up. You don't have to beat your chest all the time. You don't have to do that. That's what they do, right? Don't have to do that, but we have to speak. We do have to speak up, and we have to speak the truth. And you'll realize that there's a lot more people out there like you than you initially thought. And you start to think, well, maybe things are going to be okay. Maybe I'll be all right. Maybe I can talk to some of these people. Maybe we can figure something out. Maybe we can make something good. Maybe we can do something good. Do some good in this world together. Yeah, there you go. There's your positive message for the morning. Oh, let's see. Oh, and by the way, yeah. In the short video, Kabrutus appeals to fans to go out and support Stellar Blade. to make it sell 50 million copies and a short message to gamers. Oh, bro, this is the only good thing about this article. Play this game, support this game, buy the heck out of this game. Let's make this game sell like, I don't know, like 20 millions, 50 millions, maybe 10 million. Pass a message to them. Where does he say? Beautiful women, good gameplay, no woke bullshit. Look at her, bro. I mean, look at her. Sweet Baby Inc. could never make such a good character. And he goes on and on. So, yeah. So they're really losing their minds over this because, as Grumps pointed out, and IGN called Stellar Blade a sexualized doll and said the creator has never seen a living woman, even though, and they really said that. They said right there, a doll sexualized by a woman, someone who has never seen a woman. And this is the model. You may have seen this. This has been around for a while now. This is the actual real-life model that Eve was based on. There she is. A real woman. Now, of course, they accentuated a few parts. They highlighted a few parts, you know. They filled out a bit of her butt and her chest and her thighs a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Saying, apologize for the lack of commentary. But, oh, no. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, the whole conversation behind Stellar Blade has been fucking annoying. Yeah, it really has been. But here she is, a real woman. And again, they accentuated a few areas. But not only that, this is the wife of the president of the game. The president of the company who's making this game. This is his wife, who is one of the lead artists on the project. And a very attractive woman. So combine her, and you get Eve. So not only has he seen a real woman before, she's based off of two women. Real women. Imagine that. So IGN called it out and then really had a freaking meltdown. So IGN France. Now this is Grums and then another user, a Topek899. So they really, really flipped out. It's ironic people will defend in-real-life sex work up and down, as if that doesn't appeal to the male gaze, right? But also lambast fictional female characters for having somewhat exaggerated proportions, right? I mean, make it make sense. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they're jealous, and they want to control people, and they want to destroy masculinity, and that men can only... It's some weird idea that men can only think about sex or can only have access, like can only desire sex or women in a certain way, right? And it has to be, for some reason, it has to be the sex work model. It has to be the OnlyFans model. Like, that's the only acceptable way is prostitution. Or being, dominated by women or something like that. I mean, it's all for control, right? It's all control. We go back to the Acolyte trailer when she said, it's not about good or bad. It's about power and who is able to use it. They just care about power. They just care about authority and control. They just want to control your life. That's all they care about. They think they're gods. They are resentful towards the universe for being born, and they're too cowardly to... Well, anyway. I don't think I can say that on YouTube. He answered, let's see. Let's just go back. Okay. He answered, yes, no problem. Go tell that to the women who are hit, killed, denigrated, or who commit suicide. Hold on, I might be missing a start to this. Okay, so this is IG in France. This was all written, this Stellar Blade Meltdown is IG in France. So Topek899, this was some messages that were translated from French. So he was speaking to the editor over there at IG in France. He answered, yes, no problem. Go tell that to the women who are hit, killed, denigrated, or who commit suicide because they cannot live up to the fictional standards expected by men. The problem is not the sexy design itself, except that it sucks compared to others. But hey, that doesn't, okay, whatever. But the percentage of males who will only want this type of fictional body in reality. Obviously, we understand this does not shock people who think that women are objects, but must obey and be beaten. This design makes us sigh and roll our eyes, and we laugh at anyone who needs it, man or woman, but that's it. The certainly clashing remarks in the text, which targets the entire creative process, not necessarily a specific designer or the game director. This is obvious to anyone who knows a little French, only that the impact only has this impact because a good portion of gamers have become too fragile due to being fed the patriarchy. So they made a little editorial change on one of their articles about Stellar Blade. But listen to this stuff again. So he's claiming that Stellar Blade is going to damage women because they're going to off themselves because they can't live up to the fictional standards that it sets. Okay. I'm sorry, but if you are so emotionally and mentally damaged that a video game is going to send you over the edge, you probably shouldn't be playing the video game. You should probably go seek some assistance. Because you've got other issues going on, right? You've got something else going on. And video games are the least of your worries. And then he goes on to say the design sucks, but no, it doesn't. The percentage of males who will only want this type of fictional body in reality. So they don't want you to desire an attractive woman. Is it realistic to think that every single woman looks like this? Absolutely not. But what's the thing that all of these women do on social media now? All these women on the dating apps and everything, they got to be 6 foot 6 inches and 6 figures. All of these women, like 90% of the women are looking for 10% of the men, the top 10% of the men, and they have these ridiculous standards. Who's doing that? Women are doing that. Women are doing that. Women who are hit, killed, denigrated, or commit deletion, then focus on them. Yeah. Right. Good point. Focus on real life women. Why the fuck are we going after fictional video games? Right. If those women seriously have that many problems, like if they are that close to the edge, then why aren't you talking to them? We have an enormous mental health crisis in the Western world. And if someone is so close to the edge where a video game is just, I just can't take it anymore, that was it. All this conversation about the fictional video game character is just sending me right off the deep end. Yeah, talk to those people. Why don't you go check on them? Why don't you give them a phone call? Say, hey, why don't we go out and talk? You're not alone. You know, maybe take them bowling or something. I don't know. Roller skating. Go to the park. Go to the zoo. Go for ice cream. And talk about these things so that I guess they don't get sent over the edge. Look, as someone who's been in a psych ward, I get it. I understand that people get stressed out about all sorts of different things. And I've been to the psych ward, and I've never been so close to the edge where I thought a video game was going to send me off. But it's a very good point, Florence. If you're that concerned about real life people, go work with real life people. And these are the same people who, when they change the lore, when they change the canon, when they gender or race swap, and maybe we point it out and get a little upset by it, they will say, well, it's just a game or it's just a movie. Why are you so upset? They'll say that all day long. They'll say, oh, it's just a game. It's just a movie. Don't worry about it. Why are you freaking out? Why are you so focused on it yourself? Seriously, if it's just a game, go help the real people if you're that concerned. This design makes us sigh and roll our eyes. We laugh at anyone who needs it, man or women. What was the other thing I was going to... Only, not necessarily specific designer, game director. This is obvious to... Okay, only has this impact because a good portion of gamers have become too fragile due to being fed the patriarchy. So it's fragile. I'm fragile because I like attractive women. So it's this whole thing again where it's like, oh, you must be threatened by a big woman. You must be threatened by a trans woman. It's like, why won't you date trans women? Because they're men. And I'm not gay. If you want to date a trans woman, go for it. Knock yourself out. I don't care. I just don't want a surprise. So yeah, they're having a real one, as the kids say. So let's move on. I can go for maybe like another 10, 15 minutes. Just a couple other things. Oh, and speaking of video games, so there was an article written, why are younger generations embracing the retro game revival? And I just wanted to mention that. I won't stick on this for very long. Retro video games and aesthetics are having a moment, but it's not just Gen X and older millennials reliving their heyday. Younger millennials and Gen Z are getting in on the nostalgia too. So I just want to say, yeah, it's not surprising, right? With all of the microtransactions and all of the Sweet Baby stuff and everything we're seeing and all of the games that are coming out from AAA studios charging you $70, $70 to $100, for early access special editions for like Starfield. I think the Starfield early access edition was like $90. And the game wasn't even complete. And people pointed that out. So it's no wonder that people are going to retro gaming. It's no wonder that people are going back. And there's just been this, there's just been a few things that have come out too. And I just thought about this, so I don't have it prepared. But there's been a few things that have come out recently where I believe it's, so Xbox 360, they are going to stop their marketplace. They won't have any new game services or any new game sales on their online marketplace, I think beginning in July. And Ubisoft is going to stop server support for a few games too. Basically, all of these older games, especially like the digital-only ones, they're going to go away. Like hundreds and hundreds of games are just going to start disappearing because they don't think it's financially viable to support them anymore. And this is the danger of not having physical, right? A game that you may love from your childhood, a game that many people may love from their childhood, could just disappear. So, and this is something, there's a guy on YouTube, I can't remember his name. Maybe we'll go into this on another date. I'll actually write down a little note for that right now. But he's trying to start a movement to get these games preserved. And Mudahar, some Ordinary Gamers, just came out with a video. It was, I think, early this morning, talking about, he thinks it's important, and I think it's important too, right? Think about if you had an entire decade of music just disappear, right? Just an entire decade worth of albums, like from the 70s, 60s, whatever, just disappear. What if you had an entire decade of gaming just disappear? I think that'd be sad. I think that would be sad. So that's something, I wrote that down, so that might be something we'll touch on the future. That might be worth a good video, now that I think about it. Maybe we'll do that. Okay, let's move on to something else. I just want to touch on that real quick. J.K. Rowling. I got a lot of Guardian this morning. So Scotland has this new hate crime law that went into effect on Monday, and we'll watch this stupid little video that they made. This is real, by the way. This is real. So let's watch this, and then we'll get into it. But Scotland has this new hate crime law. Let's see.
You might know that.
Oh, that's loud. Sorry. If the let me know about the volume.
This thing here. It's the hate monster. When you're feeling insecure, when you feel angry, he'll be there, feeding off the emotions. Getting bigger and bigger till he's weighing you down. He'll make you want to have a go at somebody. A neighbour, somebody on the street, on a night out, security guy on the door, somebody in the chippy, your taxi driver. He'll make you want to vent your anger. just 'cause folk look or act different for you. The hate monster wants you to feel what you need to show you're better than them. Then, before you know it, you've committed a hate crime. Doesn't make you feel better though, does it? Maybe for a minute, but then you just feel worse, don't you? 'Cause the hate just hangs about like a bad smell. But it doesn't need to be like this. You're better than that. You know it. You've got all this energy, so do something positive with it. The hate monster doesn't like that. In fact, he hates it. Go on. Be good to yourself. Don't feed the hate monster.
That's real. That was made by the Scottish government, the Scottish police. Police Scotland, there it is right there. That's real. They probably spent like $100 billion on this or something. And of course, it's targeted at young men aged 18 to 30 are most likely to commit hate crime, particularly those from socially excluded communities who are heavily influenced by their peers, blah, blah, blah. And so this went into effect, and since then, nearly 4,000 hate crime complaints were reported to police. Hate crime allegations against First Minister Humza Yousaf and Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling are among the 3,800 made in just 3 days. Who could have thunk it? Who would have seen this coming? Jesus. Police Scotland received 3,800 hate crime complaints since Monday. STV News understands. The Hate Crime and Public Order Act came into force in Scotland on Monday. It criminalizes behavior or communications that are threatening or abusive and intend to stir up hatred against people within a protected characteristic. Those protected characteristics are age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, or variations in sex characteristics. So I guess my question would be, if someone, me just being a straight white Christian male, if somebody assaults me and the police come and I say, I file a report and everything, can I just tell them that I'm a transgender woman and then that turns into a hate crime? And by the way, isn't all crime predicated on hate? It doesn't matter who you assault. If you commit a violent assault against someone, isn't that hate? It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter their gender, their sexual orientation, their politics, or whatever. If you assault somebody, that's pretty hateful. Crime in and of itself has some kind of origin in hate. Now, if you want to talk about like the deeper meanings of that, it's like, well, people, like someone who steals a loaf of bread, right? It's like, well, that's not hate. They're just trying to feed their cousin or their brother or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Why did I pick those relatives? Don't know. But, they're trying to feed their family or whatever. You could get down into the deeper meanings of the human soul and the workings of that. And it's like, oh, maybe they have some hate for themselves and blah, blah, blah. But I digress. But seriously, isn't all crime just predicate, like it has some kind of origin in hate? It's so stupid. Critics claim the law is a threat to free speech. Yes. And could be used by some activists to silence their opponents. You don't say. Police dismiss hate crime complaints made against First Minister Humza Yousaf. Why? Oh, maybe because he's a minority. Or no, maybe it's because he's a politician. It's both. Officers also confirmed no action will be taken against J.K. Rowling over tweets criticizing the new law. Well, why not? Is it because she's a billionaire? Jesus. Goodness. So it's understood not all of these 3,800 reports have been processed yet. Yeah, I imagine. Ahead of the law coming into force, the Association of Scottish Police Superintendents warned it could be weaponized by an activist fringe across the political spectrum. Yes, we know. So this led to, now here it is. Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf described J.K. Rowling's tweets as offensive and upsetting. But here he is. This is the guy in Scotland who pushed for this.
The Lord Justice Clark.
Sorry, loud. I apologize. But let's just see if this guy seems like a racist.
White. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. the head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every prison governor, white. And not just justice, the chief medical officer, white. The chief nursing officer, white. The chief veterinary officer, white. The chief social work advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white.
Well, you are in Scotland. It'd be like me going to the middle of China and just be like, boy, sure a lot of Asians around here. Somebody should do something about this. And they would promptly kick my ass, and I would deserve it. But J.K. Rowling has been very, very, very critical. Very critical. Oh, I'll do it later. I'm not registering for this crap. Has been very critical of this hate crime law. Comments by J.K. Rowling challenging police to arrest her for online misgendering do not amount to a crime, Police Scotland said. As the Scottish government's contentious hate crime law came into force on Monday, the author and gender-critical activist posted a thread on X saying the legislation was wide open to abuse after listing sex offenders who had described themselves as transgender alongside well-known trans women activists, describing them as men, every last one of them. She stated that freedom of speech and belief are at an end in Scotland if the accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. And you know what? What are you guys going to do across the pond there? What are you going to do in Britannia? I mean, you guys don't... We at least have firearms. I don't know what you guys are going to do. I mean, I know we're in trouble. I think you guys are in worse trouble right now. I don't know. Anyway... Let's see. On Tuesday afternoon, Police Scotland confirmed that they had received complaints about the social media post, but added the comments are not assessed to be criminal and no further action will be taken. I wonder how far she's going to push this. Honestly, if I was like J.K. Rowling, because she's a billionaire, she brings in so much to that little country. Now, they won't collapse if she leaves, but honestly, if I was like, I'm in Illinois, okay? If I was a billionaire, I'd be like, I ain't giving you guys one more cent of my tax money, anything, not another dime. I am out. I would leave. It's like, I'm not giving you guys any tax money. I'm not giving you anything. The Act brings together existing laws under the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act of 2021. It is a crime to make derogatory comments based on age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, or being intersex. We ought to just start making up stuff too and see if they go along with it. It's not a bad idea. As concerns continue about officers being overwhelmed, reports suggest Police Scotland has received at least 3,000 complaints. Okay. Responding to the decision, Rowling said, I hope every woman in Scotland who wishes to speak up for the reality and importance of biological sex will be reassured by this announcement, and I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law. And then let's go to the Humza Yousaf's... earlier on Tuesday, the force also confirmed that racist graffiti found on Monday near Humza Yousaf's family home in the Broughty Ferry had been recorded under the new act. The First Minister said the graffiti, which contained a racial slur against him, was a reminder of why Scotland must take a zero-tolerance approach to hatred. On X, he said, I do my best to shield my children from the racism and Islamophobia I face on a regular basis, but not the racism against white people that you push on them, I'm sure. Right? That becomes increasingly difficult when racist graffiti targeting me appears near our family home. Well, sir, I'm not in support of people putting graffiti near your home or making racist comments towards you and your family. I am not in support of that, sir. But I would, if you're worried about your children, I would be much more worried about the lessons you are teaching them through your actions. Because children are like sponges. Children, they just observe everything we do and they mimic it. Because they're these little creatures who are trying to learn how to just interact in our world, and they see us, a bigger version of themselves, and they think, oh, I'll just do what the big version does, and I will be able to get along just fine in this world. That must be the way to act. So when they see you acting like a racist, they're probably going to grow up being racist themselves. So I would be more worried about the actions that you are taking and what your children see you doing, because you are going to be the biggest influence on their lives more so than anything else. And if you are, I don't know, if you're not paying enough attention to your children where graffiti is a more powerful influence in their life than you are, then maybe you should focus more on your children. There's a lot of reasons there to focus on your kids and not telling everyone else what they should or should not do with their lives. But again, your ego is out of control. Your narcissism is out of control. You're one of these people who has probably went to some fancy school and got a certificate and thought, oh, you know, and now everyone needs to listen to me, look at me. And this guy looks like he's probably in his 30s or something. He looks like he's very much a millennial. So, of course, he was born in the most important year ever, year 0. Nothing of any import happened before he was born, so he thinks he knows everything, so he thinks he can tell people what to do with their lives. But I support J.K. Rowling, and she had said in another post somewhere that if there's any women who receive some backlash for this, or if they want to say something, that they should contact her, and she will say it on their behalf, which is cool. I'm glad that she's standing up for this. She's still a liberal nut. Like, I would probably disagree with her on like 99% of things, but this is good on her part. Okay. What else? Is there one more thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, 2 more things, and then we got to get out of here. So, they're making a new Matrix movie. God only knows why. It's going to be written and directed, at least written by Drew Goddard. Yeah, he's directing. Okay. Lana Wachowski, who was formerly one of the Wachowski brothers. A 5th Matrix movie is on the way. Warner Brothers announced today, with The Martian and The Cabin in the Woods director Drew Goddard on board to write and direct. It'll mark the first Matrix installment to not have Lana or Lily Wachowski in the directing chair, although Lana Wachowski will executive produce. In its announcement today, WB did not reveal if any of the key cast members like Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss will be returning, nor did it disclose any details about the plot. And again, why are we doing this? It's just more evidence that Hollywood is just fresh out of ideas, has no idea what it's doing. Just tap someone who's got a little bit of experience to, like, why don't you ask him to make an original product? Why don't you ask him to have a new IP? It's like, hey, Drew, can you make we want a new story. We want a new creative IP, maybe a new franchise. Can you start something? What do you got? No. God bless it, man. And then one more thing. It's official. Dune 3 is happening. The threequel is in development with Denis Villeneuve. It's official. Dune 3 is in development. Dune Part 2 has proved a huge success so far, crossing the $600 million mark at the box office and surpassing the first film's total, so it's perhaps not a huge surprise. And if you haven't seen my review on that, go check out the review. It's not bad. It's okay. It's a good review. It's a spoiler-free review. I don't go into the big spoilers because I do think you should see that movie in the theaters. It looks freaking incredible. It is one of the best looking movies I've ever seen. Let's see. The news comes courtesy of Variety, who confirmed with production company Legendary that the threequel, oh Jesus, why are we making up all these stupid new words, is in development with director Denis Villeneuve. Dune 3 would be adapted from Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah novel. We won't go into specific plot details here since that would spoil the upcoming movie, but it deals with the fallout of Paul Atreides' decisions as depicted in Dune Part 2. Yes. And no, for all the people out there who are making the videos saying that Paul Atreides is a traditional hero, no, he's not a traditional hero. The story is, the theme of the story is the danger of messiahs and hero worship, right? It's a cautionary tale. It's a very cautionary tale. He's not a traditional hero. I go into that as well. See, Gonna be getting into Dune Messiah before the movie comes out. Right now, I'm re-listening to an audiobook of Dune. I tried reading Dune in either 8th or ninth grade. I can't remember. And I got like 100 pages in. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again someday. It's the writing style is different. I can't remember. I just remember it being a lot different and kind of confusing for my stupid water brain. But maybe I'll try it again sometime. But yeah. So there's that. But anyway, I've got to get out of here. I've got to go get ready. I've got to get to the 9 to 5 job. But I will be working again. I'll be working on the Mask of Zorro thing, Mask of Zorro video again this weekend, and that should be coming out sometime soon. And I will be here Sunday morning. I will keep you updated on any new projects that I have, but I'll be here again Sunday morning, which is much more of a chill stream, just chatting, doing whatever. But I'm definitely going to keep doing this live stream like Wednesday morning. I may do it Friday morning as well. So I don't know. I just enjoy doing these streams. And if people keep showing up, I'll keep doing them. So anyway, Florence, see you later, man. Looking forward to your review. Thank you. It's good to see you, Florence, as always. So if you like what you heard, hit that like, share, and the subscribe and everything. Go check out some of those reviews. And check me out on Twitter, and I'll do my best to keep everybody posted. But until Sunday morning, have a wonderful weekend. And you guys take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And never stop telling stories, guys. Stories are very important. We need to preserve them. So I will see you guys later. Take care.